But we have changed it for the purposes of our process for creating a marketing plan to growth, profits, and success. So in order to map out a simplified approach to creating a marketing plan that we like to say that you will use and not lose. So, okay, it's not advancing for me. Okay. So we want to talk a little bit about creating a simplified marketing plan. As we all know, we're in a fairly difficult environment right now due to COVID. And so what we're telling our clients is that keeping it simple plus remaining nimble is what will equal success in the next normal. Many of us don't even know right now what normal is going to be in the long term, what we're going to be facing coming, in the fall this year. So again, keeping it simple and remaining nimble is going to be a key part of any marketing success. I want to talk just for a second about marketing plans in general. So we do marketing plans. That's, a big part of our business. We do them for, small organizations and large organizations alike. And marketing plans can be very valuable. Having a roadmap to, your marketing efforts is an extremely valuable tool. But, in a large company, when you have an entire marketing team and you have people that are, experts in various disciplines, oftentimes these marketing plans are very large, cumbersome documents. And then oftentimes they see limited use and end up on a shelf somewhere gathering dust. So what we decided to do was design a process for creating a marketing plan that's different. It's a quick and efficient way to create a plan for a small to mid-sized organization that's easy to create, that's easy to implement, easy to update. In this particular instance, we're saying that less is more. We want it to be a marketing plan that you'll actually use and not lose. So that's why we created the GPS marketing plan. So I want to talk a little bit about the 5 key areas that we're going to go through in the GPS marketing plan process. I want to talk about how we've structured this and set it up. But I want to talk first about why we did the analogy with the GPS. At Ideaworks, oftentimes when we're creating a process for anything, and we do create a lot of processes in marketing, we like to do an analogy with something that people are very familiar with and that people understand, because we feel that it's much easier for people to grasp. Oftentimes in small businesses, marketing isn't your first discipline. If it's, any part of your discipline, actually. People know they need to market their business, but it's really not something that they have a lot of expertise in. But, as, we like to say, it's really not rocket science. It's definitely something that you can tackle. You just have to put a little bit of effort into, sitting down and going through the steps. And again, we try to make it a very simplified process that you could go through and actually follow. So the 5 key areas that, we're going to focus on here with this GPS analogy are true north, and that's simply going to be a process where you determine where you are today, right? So if you're going on a trip and you're using your GPS, you have to know where you're starting from. You need to know what your starting point is. And then the route area is, where do you want to go? Where are you going on this trip? The navigation piece is how are you going to get there? The system display is what mediums are you going to use to get there. And then, of course, the expense report, and that's how much are you able or willing to spend to get there. So those are all part of the GPS plan process. So another piece of this, as we go through the sections, are going to be these 4 focus sections, and you'll see this in each of the key areas. There's going to be a destination, which is the purpose and intent of that key area. There's going to be a course, or the specific actions that you're going to take in that key area. There's going to be a return or an expected outcome from that area. And then what we're calling roadside assistance, and that's going to be the tool and or resources that you can use when completing that section of your marketing plan. Some of those will give to you or will recommend, things that you can utilize to complete that section. I will say here that in addition to this presentation that I'm going to do, we have created a workbook that follows, this presentation pretty much step by step, that you can use to, create your marketing plan. So we will have that available to you after the presentation electronically, and or if you would like a hard copy of it, you can contact us and we'll get our contact information to you, and then we would be happy to share with you a printed copy of the workbook that you could use to create your marketing plan. Then you'll also see in the presentation these special callouts. They're not in every section, but where we deem them, where we deemed them to be necessary, we might call something to your attention that we want you to pay particular attention to when completing that section of your marketing plan. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the true north, the first key area in the process, and that's going to be the area where you determine, where you are today. And the destination, or again, like I said, the purpose and intent of this section is to complete an honest assessment of where you are today in terms of your market, your customers, and your competition. And the key there being an honest assessment. Oftentimes when you own a small business or are part of a small organization, it doesn't even have to be a small business, any business that you're part of really, becomes very personal at times. But particularly when you're the owner of a small to mid-sized business, it's very hard to criticize sometimes. It's like a child. It's like your own child, and it's very hard to be honest when you're assessing, some of the shortcomings of the business. So it's really very critical that you do an honest assessment of your business when you're doing this part. The return from this, or the expected outcome when you complete this part, is clear direction on where you are and where you need to go, to grow your business. And honestly, a lot of this, when we put this process together, it was, it wasn't just during the time of COVID. So, things naturally are evolving and changing. Your assessments might change dramatically from where they were, 6 months ago, due to what we've, gone through as businesses in, during these, current economic conditions. And I'll talk about that a little more as we go through the process. The course that you'll take during the True North, and this isn't exhaustive by any stretch of the imagination, but here's what you need to be thinking about when you complete this section. Who are my target customers and what do they need? What's happening in the market that will impact, good or bad, my business? And again, I don't need to over elaborate on this, but we all know that we're in a situation right now that is affecting businesses, fairly dramatically in some instances. And not all, I don't want to make it sound all negative either. I'm sure there are some businesses that, as a result of the situation, are actually prospering because of it. I would venture a guess that, it's been more negative than positive, but for most businesses. But there are certainly businesses, depending upon what your business is, that are actually seeing an uptick in business as a result of this, as a result of COVID. Who is my competition and how do we measure up against what they offer? So it's very important to know who your competition is and what they're doing. What can I offer that my competition does not? What, if anything, makes my company stand out from the rest? And where's the greatest potential to grow my business? And again, during this time, we may be asking ourselves, what can I do to maintain my business rather than grow it, or even, stay in business? So, these questions can change a little bit depending upon, what the current situation is. So, just keep that in mind. The needs may change based upon what the current environment is. The roadside assistance tools in this section are going to be a SWOT analysis, and that's going to be looking at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you should do this for not only your own business, but for your competitors as well, to the best of your ability. So, for those, many of you may have already done SWOT analysis in the past of your company. It's definitely something that should be revisited, particularly now. And if you've never done one, it's certainly a great exercise to go through to really take a hard look at your strengths, your weaknesses, what some opportunities might be, and what are some threats that your business might be facing at this time. And then the little stop sign there is telling you not to complete this exercise in a vacuum. Like I said, it's hard sometimes as an owner or leader of a business to look at, your company's weaknesses. So we always advise our clients, when you're doing a SWOT analysis, to include team members, some vendor partners if you can, some trusted customers, to really get an honest assessment of what some of those things that you may think you're doing well, but perhaps your customers don't, or your team members don't. So when you're doing these types of exercises to analyze your business, it's best to get the input, of a number of different audiences to make sure that you're not blind to something that is going on in your company that you're not aware of. So there is a template, that you can use, and this is in the workbook that I mentioned earlier. So this is the exercise to complete a SWOT analysis and competitive analysis for your business. And as I said, I believe Jolene will be sending this out to everyone, and we'll be happy to send printed copies out as well. So the second key area that we're going to talk about is the root. And the root is really, about, where do I want to be? And this area is about setting goals, right? And we're going to talk about the importance of setting goals, but I just want to bring up, this is a very interesting and well-known study that was done with a 1979 Harvard MBA program graduates. They were interviewed while they were students and they were still in school, and then 10 years later. And this is very impactful. 13% of the class who had goals but didn't write them down earned twice the amount of the 84% who had no goals at all. But the 3% who had written goals earned on average 10 times as much as the other 97% of the class combined. So it was a very famous study about, writing down your goals. And there's a plethora of, literature and writings out there that talk about goal setting and, how much more effective goals are when they're written down. But it is very important to set goals, not only set goals, but to write them down so that you could revisit them, and how much more effective goals are when they are written goals. In this section, the destination is, the purpose of this is to determine where you want to go and establish your SMART goals. And I'll talk, I'll talk about the SMART goals in a second in more detail. But what the SMART refers to when you're talking about goals, for any of you that don't know, the SMART acronym is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. And it's again, in the marketing world, it's a very popular acronym when you're talking about goals. But it's very important that when you're setting your goals, that you keep those parameters in mind. And then the return out of this section should be 1 or 2 clear and concise goals that you will focus on achieving throughout the rest of your marketing plan. And this is very important. We use 1 or 2 clear and concise goals, because if you sit down to do a marketing plan and you start with like 15 or 20 goals that you want to accomplish, I can almost assure you that you're not going to accomplish any of them. What you want to do is start with 1 or 2 goals that are very meaningful to your business, and you need to put the time into really determining what those 1 or 2 goals are that you feel you really must achieve to, advance your business or keep your business going, or whatever the case may be. And then once you and then you need to work that goal, with the other steps that we're going to talk about. And then once you achieve those goals, then you could set new goals and keep setting new goals and different goals. But, you want to start with 1 or 2 clear and concise goals so that you can actually accomplish them and keep moving forward. I believe, and we counsel our clients this way, is that you don't want to get mired down in setting all of these lofty goals, and then you're all over the place and you're really not achieving anything. It's perfectly fine to have 1 goal, or it's perfectly fine to have 2 goals. Don't overcomplicate it. That's the whole purpose of this process for a marketing plan, is to keep it simple, keep it achievable. So again, the SMART goal, I'll talk about that again for a minute. For those that are unfamiliar, it's specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, relevant, and timely. So specific, what we're talking about there is, you don't want to say, my goal is to increase my revenue. That's not specific. You want to say, my goal is to increase my revenue by 10% over the period, this same period last year, whatever that period may be. Be as specific as you can about what you're trying to achieve. Measurable, it has to be something that you can measure, or you're never going to know if you've achieved your goal or not. So you can't say, I want to be the best whatever, because there's no way to measure that. You can't measure being the best. So you have to, make your goal be something that you can measure so that you can know when you've achieved your goal. It needs to be attainable. You don't want to say, I want to increase my revenue by tenfold in the next 15 days. That's probably not attainable or achievable. So when you look at these things, you want to make it something that's not, so simple that, you don't have to work at it, or it's not really going to do anything for your business. But, make sure it's something that you can actually achieve, and it's not so far out of reach that it's really not going to happen. Relevant, you want to make sure that it's relevant to your business, that it's actually going to give your business a return on investment. You don't want to be setting goals that have really no return to your company. And then timely, put a time limit on it. When you write this goal, I want to increase, and I'm using revenue. It doesn't always have to be revenue. It could just be profitability. It could be any number of things, but you want to put a time limit on it. I want to increase, my profitability by X percentage by this date or this time period. So you're going to put a time limit on these goals as well. So the course that you want to take, what do I want to accomplish? How will I measure progress and or success? Do I have the time and the resources to achieve this goal? Because again, if you're setting a goal and you have no time or resources to make that goal happen, it's not, or you have to figure out how to either make the time and or get the resources that you would need to achieve that goal. So, part of this process will actually get you thinking, how do I make this happen? If this is my goal and this is what I really want to accomplish or really need to accomplish, and I don't have the time or the resources, well, then you have a decision to make. I either have to make the time somehow, or I need to hire resources or get resources somehow. And, there are creative ways to do things. You need to get creative. I remember doing this presentation once, and, when it comes to marketing, there are creative ways to accomplish some things. There are a lot of universities in our area. You've got obviously Wilkes, who's hosting this presentation, but there are a lot of others, and those that have marketing departments always have students that are going to school for marketing. So some of your seniors that are graduating with a marketing degree are always looking for internships and ways to get some practical experience in the marketing field. We always, we use interns quite frequently here at our company. So, think of creative ways. If you don't have the time to do some of the things that you need to do, look for these students, these senior students at the universities that are, really looking for some practical experience to put on their resume. And, the thing they want the most is to show that they had success in getting results. So, there are creative ways to get some of the resources that you need. So, you have to start thinking creatively about, how can I accomplish this when, I don't have the time, or even sometimes maybe the knowledge. If one of the things, and we'll talk about this more later with some tactics. You know, if you're not really an expert at, you know, social media or, you know, web development, or, you know, there are creative ways to do that. And, you know, most young students today are very good at social media, and they really know what they're doing. So there are very creative ways to do some of this thing without, you know, breaking the bank. And then again, you know, why is this goal important to me and my company? And when will I complete this goal? So the roadside assistance, again, in the workbook, we've given you a template to create these SMART goals that follow the SMART guidelines. And then once you've, you know, written down your goals, just go back and make sure they meet those SMART criteria. And if not, you know, keep at it until you make sure that they do. And then this is the template that's in the workbook, and we give you the, you know, some guidelines on, you know, what the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely should include. So the next key area is navigation, and that's the how will I get there. So the destination, or the how do you get there, you know, we like to think of this in, you know, if you think of the navigation in your car or your GPS system, there's the map view, and that's what we like to think of as your strategy. And then the turn by turn, where it's literally telling you what your next turn is, are the tactics or the specific details. And we'll get into that a little bit more, because, you know, even for seasoned marketing professionals, there's always some confusion between, you know, objectives, goals, strategies, and tactics. So we'll get into that a little bit, and, you know, talk about which is which. But think of it this way in terms of a, you know, in terms of navigation or GPS. The map view is the bigger, higher view. That would be your strategies. And then the tactics would be kind of your turn by turn, how you're gonna get it done. And then the return for this is a confirmation of the actions you will take to achieve your goals. So the course in this instance of the navigation, what are the best ways to reach my target audience? You know, everyone's target audience is not in the same place. You know, everyone thinks they need to be on social media. Everyone thinks they need to be, you know, we've had clients many times that say, you know, I need an app. You know, we have to create an app, and apps are kind of expensive. If it's, you know, depending upon what you want that app to do. And, you know, not everybody needs an app either. It really depends upon what your target audience is and what they would actually do with it. Where does my target audience learn about the services that I provide? What are the features and benefits of my company's offering? What can we do to get our message out in support of our goals? What can my company afford to get our message out to our target audience? And who on my team is best suited to support these marketing efforts? Again, you know, a lot of people don't have a big team to, you know, to support these marketing efforts. So, you know, you have to get creative and be realistic about how, you know, about how this is going to get done. But again, everyone's target audience is different, and you have to be aware of where your target audience is consuming information. And that may not be on social media. You know, as much as everybody thinks that's where they need to be, it may not be. And it, you know, audiences make decisions very differently on where they're going to purchase services. So it's very important that you understand where people determine who they're going to buy what services from, right? So, you know, some businesses, referral is a huge determinant of where people buy from. You know, some people do, social media is huge in impacting where people purchase certain services. But it's, you know, it's different for every organization. So you really do have to understand, you know, who your audience is and where they're consuming their information. So the roadside assistance, here are some strategy and tactic examples, and I'll show you some and what the difference between them is. But, you know, here what we're saying is a strategy is about doing the right things, and a tactic is about doing things right. Okay, so again, you know, the strategy is about what am I going to do, and then the tactics are about doing it the right way, you know, getting to that audience in the right way. So some examples of a strategy might be, I want to expand, you know, my digital presence on LinkedIn to showcase my skills and expertise to prospects whom I cannot reach in person due to COVID-19. And then the tactic to support that strategy would be to create 3 to 5 LinkedIn posts per month that highlight my company's thought leadership in our category. For example, if you're a travel agency, link to a safe traveling tips blog post you penned. So again, you know, the strategy is expanding your digital presence. The tactic is actually creating X amount of posts per month and what they're going to talk about. And then another example would be, you know, if you were in the restaurant industry, your strategy might be to eliminate unnecessary contact points for my customers during COVID-19. And the actual tactics that you would use would be to create QR codes to put on display in the dining room tables so that customers can scan and review the menu. So having no paper menus at all, and then transition to contactless payment system within 3 weeks. So those would be tactics to support the strategy of eliminating unnecessary contact points. So those are just two, you know, simple examples of tactics versus strategies. So again, the exercise would be to, you know, create some strategies and tactics, and that little worksheet is in the workbook as well. So then the system display, we're going to talk about the mediums that you can use to reach your customers. So what do you say when reaching out to your target audience? What is the messaging? And then what are the mediums that you can use? And then obviously the return from this section, when you've completed it, would be the messaging and mediums that you'll use to communicate with your audience. So the course you're going to take in this section is, you know, what are the benefits that my company offers to my target audience? Does my messaging add value to the recipients? Do I convey the what's in it for them? Does my messaging demonstrate that I understand my audience's wants, needs, and problems that need to be solved? And is my messaging free of industry jargon, and does it contain a call to action to prompt a response? So those are just some, you know, key, you know, general things that you should keep in mind when you're creating messaging. So even if you're, you know, if you're creating posts for social media, or if you're writing an ad, you know, make sure that you're covering, you know, these items or thinking about these things when you're writing messaging. In terms of the mediums or the places that you're going to put your messaging, do I know the mediums that my target audience uses the most to access information on services like mine? And what my company offers? Have I considered both traditional and non-traditional mediums for my outreach efforts? Am I evaluating potential mediums based on return on investment and not only cost and overall appeal? And that's kind of a big one. You know, people just oftentimes look at the cost and say, you know, I can't afford that. And sometimes you just can't afford it. But, you know, if you really sometimes study the return on investment, you know, there are certain mediums that meet a much broader audience. So you really need to do your homework sometimes on the return on investment. And then, can I sustain the development of content for the mediums I select? You know, and we run into this a lot, you know, with people that, you know, have a blog on their website and then they, you know, do like one blog post a year or something like that. Or even, you know, Facebook pages that just become so outdated very quickly because no one is posting. Or so if you're going to, you know, if you're going to have these mediums for outreach and things of that nature, you have to, you know, you really have to sustain the content to make sure that they're relevant. And you do not want people going to, you know, a blog that hasn't had a post in 12 months or to a Facebook page that hasn't had a post in, you know, 5 months. If you're going to create these things, you want to make sure that they're being kept up. And again, you know, I stress the fact that there are creative ways to do this. You can, you know, you can hire interns to do this. There's ways to keep these things active that aren't going to break the bank. Messaging tips, again, grab the recipient's attention with information that's interesting and relevant to them. Clearly state what differentiates you from your competition. Communicate the desired result of your audience. Keep your messaging short, simple, and benefit focused. A picture is worth 1,000 words. There's a tremendous amount of statistics that say, you know, how much more engagement, even on social media, that pictures and videos get over just text. Stake your claim, your position in the marketplace. Be true to your brand. Reinforce what your brand is all about. And include a call to action in all of your contact information. And again, base your decisions on return on investment. And there's a saying that we use often in the agency, which is never confuse effort with results. So, you know, you could put a lot of effort into something, but if you're not getting results, it really doesn't matter how much effort you're putting into it. What you want is the return and the results. Again, we just put together a little graphic here of the different mediums for consideration. And again, I really would advise to really look at all of them. There are many ways to reach people, and it's not a one size fits all. There are different mediums that work better for different industries. So, you know, it doesn't have to be the latest and greatest for everyone. You really need, going back to, you know, looking at your target audience, you really need to understand where your customers are coming from, you know, and sometimes it's as simple as asking them, you know, where did you hear about us? You know, how did you hear about us? And sometimes you'd be surprised. Like, you really need to think about, you know, people are at home far more often now than they were, you know, 4 or 5 months ago. So, you know, it's worth looking at, you know, different mechanisms to reach your audience, and, you know, thinking about what their behaviors are. There's a lot of things that, you know, this is a really good time to, you know, do a marketing plan or redo a marketing plan if you already have one. But, you know, people are behaving differently right now. So you really need to look at, you know, where your customers are now, how they're behaving, you know, what you can do differently to reach them, things of that nature. So again, we have some exercises in the workbook that you can do to come up with some messaging and some medium ideas. And then last but not least, how much will you spend on your marketing efforts? The final section is developing a budget, and the return will be a completed budget. The course here is, what is my company's revenue goal for the year? How many new customers per month do we need to reach this goal? What is the number of sales leads we need to land one customer? How many leads do we need per month to reach our revenue goal? And then what marketing activities are most likely to give us this amount of leads? So again, you know, this is different for every industry. You know, if you're a restaurant or something of that nature, you probably don't look at it in terms of, you know, leads, sales leads per se, but, you know, just customers. But nonetheless, you should be looking at, you know, your marketing efforts and, you know, how much money you can or are willing to invest in your marketing efforts. And it's, you know, it's really not the same for everyone. We did include a budget template, and we have it electronically in an Excel spreadsheet, so we'd be happy to share that as well. A lot of people ask how much they should spend on marketing, and it's, you know, it's not an easy answer. The quick answer would be 3 to 8% is the, you know, national average, 3 to 8% of overall sales, with 5% being the norm. But the truth of the matter is that it's what you can afford. Do your homework, consider all the options, and choose wisely. You know, it's really about what works for you, but you know, it's when business is down, you know, people tend to cut marketing budgets first, and, you know, that's probably not the wisest choice, because it's probably when you need to bolster your marketing efforts. But it's hard, you know, it's hard to make those decisions, obviously. But we did include a marketing budget calculator that you can use, and then you could monitor, you know, your spending. And it does have some, you know, some rough percentages in there. You could change the percentages as you see fit. You know, obviously there's not a lot of event marketing going on right now. You could certainly change those categories, but really give it some thought. But it kind of helps you to keep to a budget. And then, you know, it's just like, you know, with your home budgeting or any type of budgeting that you do, you know, if you set a budget and you're sticking to it and it's working, you feel better about, you know, spending it. You know, you feel like you're accomplishing something, and it's, you know, and you could see how it's working. So, you know, I would advise that you at least set a marketing budget. And there are things, you know, there are things from a marketing standpoint. And again, you have to go through the entire process, because, you know, every business is different. And depending upon what your business is, you know, you can market on Facebook, you know, very inexpensively. You know, you can do paid advertising on Facebook that's, you know, really quite economical. And if you, particularly if your target audience is within a specific geographic area, You know, if your pool isn't, you know, a tri-state area or nationally, you know, then it would become very expensive. But, you know, if you're a restaurant, for instance, I hate to keep using that as an example, but, you know, you've got a limited pool. Or if you're you know, a hair salon or a gym or something like that, you know, you've got a limited area where people are going to travel to your business. They're not going to come from New Jersey to go to your hair salon or your gym. So, you know, you have a finite geography that you're going to advertise in, and when you do, then, you know, advertising on Facebook becomes, you know, very economical. So with that, again, we have a little template in the workbook that you could kind of make notes. And then we just have some, you know, following and some additional resources you can reference when creating your marketing plan. And our little message there: if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail, by Benjamin Franklin. And then I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone has at this point.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves or type your questions in the chat box. All right, it doesn't seem like we have any questions right now, Donna, but if anyone has questions after the presentation, can they utilize your email?
Absolutely.
And also the phone number for Ideaworks is on the screen as well. All right, with that, we'll conclude today's program. I would like to thank Donna for being here.
Jolene, can I ask a question?
Oh yeah, go ahead, John.
Donna, first, thank you for the simplicity of what you shared and, you know, the fundamentals. Greatly appreciated. Question, what have you seen during, like, more Main Street businesses during COVID? Marketing plans have obviously changed.
It's just so all over the place. You know, a lot of our business is in the restaurant industry. That's why I lean towards that a lot. You know, and it has just been so up and down with, you know, just with the governance and the, you know, what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do. But obviously, you know, they've had to pivot just like crazy with, you know, takeout and, you know,
Parking lot dining.
Parking lot dining. You know, some have done absolutely beautiful, wonderful things with that. You know, I know restaurants that have done more business during COVID with takeout than they were doing prior to. What is your business, John?
I'm with the Widener SBDC, but I am a private management consultant.
Okay.
So I deal with business planning and marketing as a part of that, and it's a great source of frustration sometimes when a client just overcommits to particular marketing methods that are no longer working, and then they give up on marketing, and I got to get them to pivot post-COVID to do something different.
Right.
That's just trying to get some thoughts about what you're seeing out there post-COVID that's working.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, for us, with most of it being restaurant, um, just a lot of Facebook and, I mean, honestly, it's a lot of word of mouth right now of who's doing the best job with what they're doing. And the QR code, like the how we mentioned with the tactics, the QR codes for menus, really doing a good job of letting their customers know that their facilities are safe, is certainly a big part of it right now. And I think that probably goes for all businesses. If it's anything where you're going into the business, getting the message out there that, they're doing everything to make sure that the customers are safe.
Yeah, it's hard. I find that I'm advising businesses to stick to who knows them.
Right.
Old former customers, former clients, and existing customers doing more for them. That seems to be working because the marketing has been frustrating the last 100 days in terms
Yeah.
of client acquisition. The
Yeah.
ROIs have been down.
Yeah, for sure.
Seems to be like it's going to go on for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's been tough.
But thank you,
Yeah.
Don. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If anyone has any other questions, feel free to hop on and ask. And also, I had mentioned Donna does have her phone and email available if you want to contact her after the presentation as well.
Yeah, Jolene, can I just, that's not our correct phone number. I apologize for that. We'll do a follow-up email to everyone and we'll put our correct phone number in there. That's our old phone number. I apologize.
And I could certainly include that information in my follow-up email as well. That's not a problem.
Okay.
If we don't have any other further questions, I will be concluding today's program. I would like to thank Donna for being here with us today and sharing her insights on building a marketing plan for small businesses. I just have a few housekeeping notes. I will be making available the recording of this training on the Wilkes University SBDC YouTube channel, and I will email that link to all attendees. I will also be emailing the link to a post-event survey so that we can determine which of our resources will best suit your needs and what topics you would like to see as training sessions in the future. With that, I want to thank everyone for attending this training. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at the SBDC. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you all at future webinars. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.